Hey everybody, it's Jose Laya and we're back. The third quarter results are in and we're here today to share them with you. I want to say thank you to those who have reached out to let me know that these videos are helping and making an impact. That's exactly why we share this data with you, to be able to provide this data of the local real estate market and put it in your hands. So that's exactly why we make these videos, to be able to provide value to you out there and also help as many people as we can. So the third quarter results are in. And like we like to do, we're gonna put it in graphs and we're gonna put it up here so you could see it, but also we're gonna compare the third quarter to previous quarters, to the second quarter and first quarter, to really put things in perspective. And then we're gonna dive a little deeper and break down the numbers on a month-to-month basis to see if we can spot any trends in the market as far as closed sales or pricing. We're gonna do it for both segments, for single family homes and condos in some of the more popular areas of Miami that we've covered here before, and some of the areas that we cover and know very well. So let's jump right into the first graph. Here we go. Okay, so we're here with the first graph. The first graph that we have is single family homes, number of closed sales, along with the median price per square foot for the third quarter. But we're also going to put it up here with relative to the second quarter results and first quarter results, just to put things in perspective. We cover the segments of the market that we know well and that we've been covering here in previous videos. We cover Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Pinecrest, and Miami Beach, specifically South Beach, which is the zip code 33139. Let's jump right into the numbers. And if we go down to that last line, that last row that says percent change, look at this dramatic drop off from the second quarter to the third quarter, all across the board, with the exception of the last column, which is Miami Beach, which went from 11 to 13 sales. That's not really a game changer. It doesn't move the needle. But look at the other three segments, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, and Pinecrest. The number of closed sales was down 52% in Coconut Grove, 44% Coral Gables, 24% in Pinecrest. That's a dramatic drop off from the second quarter to third quarter. An interesting thing to note is that in our previous video of that half year update that we did, when we compared the first to the second quarter, we did, and you can go back to the video and check it, we did start to notice a dramatic slowdown or decrease in the number of closed sales from about mid to late summer. We just weren't sure yet because the data wasn't out, but clearly it's indicative here as the numbers are out now, and it was a big slowdown from the second to third quarter. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna dive a little deeper and break down that second and third quarter numbers into month by month to see when did that slowdown really start happening, to see if we can get a better sense as to what's really happening in the Miami real estate market, and to see if we can spot any trends. So we're going to dive a little deeper now, look at it month to month, and here we go, next graph. Okay, so here we have the graph for the month by month basis for the single family homes, same segments, Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, Pinecrest, and Miami Beach, and let's dive right into the graph. Now, what we want to highlight is that forward momentum that the market had going from the first to second quarter, that really dropped off from the second to the third quarter. Look, let's get the start of the second quarter, which is April. Look at the number of, let's just start on the graph, top left. Coconut Grove, the number of closed sales in the month of April in Coconut Grove were 20. And now look what happens in July, which is the start of the third quarter. That number dropped off from 20 to 8. Look at Coral Gables. It went from 42 to 23. They both went down by half. You go over to Pinecrest, that one actually increased slightly, and then Miami Beach increased slightly as well. The interesting thing to note is while the number of closed sales has slowed dramatically, look at pricing. You know, we highlighted that in the previous graph where we had the second quarter, third quarter change, and the number of closed sales was down dramatically, but pricing was either holding or increasing slightly. You know, if we just take these 6 months here that we have, meaning the last 6 months, and look at the price per square foot, just to kind of give you an average, you know, we just ran some numbers. In Coconut Grove, you could see that in April is at 777, and then look at September, up to 942. Even August was 862. If you take the average of the prior 6 months for these 4 segments here, for Coconut Grove, Coral Gables, and Pinecrest and Miami Beach, we pretty much took an average of the prior 6 months price per square foot. In Coconut Grove, you're seeing $900 a square foot on average for the prior 6 months. Coral Gables is right around $800 per square foot for the prior 6 months. Pinecrest is at $767 on average for the prior 6 months, and Miami Beach is all the way up to a little under $1,900 a square foot. It's at $1,871 per square foot for the prior 6 months. Price per square foot, the median price per square foot, the average price per square foot, that's just one key metric in pricing. It's not the end all be all, but it gives you a guide as to what's available in the neighborhood. It doesn't paint the whole picture of pricing. You use that as a metric and you go from there. But sellers, if you price your property correctly, you will sell it in a very short period of time. So now that we've covered the single family homes, we're going to jump into the condo market. We're going to start the first graph of the condos with the third quarter results and compare those to the previous quarters. So let's jump into the condo market now and take a look at that data. Okay, so now we have the graph up for the condo market. We're going to start with the third quarter data versus the first and second quarters. We're looking at some of the more popular areas within Miami, areas that we follow very closely and that we do business in. We start with South of 5th, which is in Miami Beach, in South Beach. Then we hop over the causeway and go into downtown Miami. Then we go over the bridge into Brickell, which Brickell is, the most condensed area for condos, and it's also the most popular as well, as it's pretty much the financial district here in Miami. And then we go a little bit further south and go into Coconut Grove, which it's a nice waterfront community, has really nice condos, some older and some a lot newer. So let's jump right into the numbers. You're gonna see very similar stat lines to the single family housing. Let's go right into the bottom row, the percent change between second quarter and third quarter. You're gonna see very similar stats to what we saw in the single family housing market. The number of sales has decreased dramatically. Look at that bottom row, 26%, 7%, 29%, and 36%. The number of sales has decreased from quarter over quarter. Another similar stat line, what's pricing doing? Pricing's holding or increasing slightly. The only anomaly on that line is Coconut Grove, where the pricing increased 28%, which is really high. We kind of saw that a little strange, so we said, let's dive a little deeper to find out what happened. And the reason Coconut Grove increased 28% is because one of the the newest high-rise that opened in 2018, 2019 called Park Grove, that's the newest development that is now you're starting to see resales on the secondary market for those condos. And typically what always happens is that the newest buildings in an area, especially if they're luxury, they command a premium. So they'll trade at a lot higher price per square foot versus the older buildings in the area. Now you're starting to see the resales of Park Grove condos on the secondary market, and that caused that 28% increase in the median price per square foot from quarter to quarter. So that was the reason for that jump in prices there. But everything across the board is very similar to what we saw in the single family houses. Number of sales decreasing dramatically while pricing pretty much holding or increasing slightly. These are the most popular areas for condos within Miami. So it's interesting that the stat line is very similar to the single family housing. Now we're going to dive a little deeper and look at the month to month number of closed sales and median price per square foot to see if we can spot any trends and see what's really happening here in the condo market. So let's dive deeper into the month-to-month graph. Here we go. So here we have the same data, but broken down on a month-to-month basis from the second quarter to the third quarter. And look at how in April, from April to May, pretty much across the board, sales were increasing. For the most part, they increased again in June, with the exception of South of 5th. But then look at July. July, everything started going down. I mean, you can clearly see it across the board here. The number of sales started to slow down already by July. August slowed down a bit as well, with the exception of South of 5th. Excuse me. And then look at September. Again, across the board, September has the lowest number of closed sales across the board for all prior 6 months. That's pretty much in line with what we saw in the single family housing market, which indicates to us it was a time of year because summer's over, kids are going back to school. But I think even more importantly, that's when rates shot up over 1.5 points. They were in the 6 to 7% range, and all of a sudden they jumped up to over 7.5%, almost 8. And we're seeing that across the board. We saw it in single family houses, we saw it in condos. So we feel that's something that we're going to have to watch closely in the coming months to see if that huge increase in rates has put off buyers and put them on the sidelines. We're not 100% certain yet, but the data is pointing in that direction, at least from what we can see here. And again, that's why we like to include all these data points and break them down from the second quarter to third quarter, and then break them down on a monthly basis, but also give you a comparison just to make the data relative and give you a little bit better perspective. We just put the third quarter months here of July, August, and September. It gives you nothing to kind of point to and say, oh, wow, yeah, there was a decrease. That's why we feel that showing you this data, it gives you the power to be able to make decisions. You can see the numbers here clearly. There was a definite slowdown in the third quarter, but more importantly, it slowed down even further in September once rates jumped up, which is something we're going to have to keep our eye on going forward. Not only to close out the fourth quarter, but also to start the new year 2024. That's why we like breaking this down for you, just so you can see. That's the condo market. As you saw, it's moving pretty much very similar to what the single family housing market is doing. Number of closed sales down, pricing kind of holding or increasing slightly. So let's give you a summary now. Okay, so again, we showed you the single family housing market, we showed you the condo market, we showed you the quarter by quarter numbers, and we then broke it down for you on a month-to-month basis, which I think that one, when you see things on a month-to-month basis, it lets you digest the information a little easier, but it also shows you exactly when did things slow down, when did prices increase, etc., etc. That month-to-month breakdown, putting it here on the graph for you guys, is one that we really enjoy doing and putting together for you guys. We can clearly see from the numbers in the single-family houses and in the condos that the number of sales has decreased dramatically. Okay, pricing for the most part is kind of holding on or slightly increasing. That is because the levels of good inventory remain low and demand remains high. That's the only reason prices are holding on. Even in the face of rising interest rates, pricing's holding on just because of supply levels and demand levels. That's why we're seeing that. Is that going to continue for the time being? We believe so, but we'll put a caveat here. Since September, when interest rates shot up to 7.5%, almost 8%, we have seen and felt, and we've spoken to other brokers about this as well, and they agree, we have seen a bit of a pause from buyers as they're getting a bit spooked out with rates being so high. Not only do they get spooked out, but a lot of them, the affordability just gets to a point that they can't afford the level of house or pricing that they want, and that puts a pause on the market, which we feel is putting the biggest weight on the market right now, is that level of interest rates. So that's it for now. It's going to be an interesting rest of the year, so we're going to keep our finger on the pulse. We're going to be back with more market updates because we feel this is like a real crucial time in the market to be giving you guys data and just to get in front of you guys and providing as much value as we can. Once again, I'm Jose Laya. I was born and raised in Miami. I've been in the real estate market almost 19 years now, and I really just enjoy providing value for you out there and helping as many people as we can. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.